friggin' snow. Should be a law against it. My video, my rules. Hey guys, how's it going, eh? Todd the Cheap Drums guy. Welcome to Northern Michigan. Cold Saturday morning, yeah, and we're getting little snowflakes here and there, and I think this is stuff that's going to hang around real early in the morning now. Friggin' dogs woke me up at 5:30 because they're tiny little bladders. So much for sleeping in. Yesterday, I'm at work, just finishing up. My wife was going off to help some friends, and as she was leaving, she pulled around the front of the house, and there was a box on the front porch that FedEx was just dropping off. Yay! And it's from Sweetwater. Always a good day when your box from Sweetwater comes in. Because I look forward to, I don't buy much candy, but I look forward to the Sweetwater bags because they have Bit-O-Honey, and I love the Bit-O-Honeys. But anyway, so she goes, gave me a call and gave me a heads up that the box was on the kitchen table. So I get down to work about 15:30, and I'm driving home, and I'm coming down our street, and I'm following a UPS truck. I knew what that was. And sure enough, he pulled in right down by my driveway, honked a horn, and I pull right in the driveway, walk out to greet him. And I said, it's a good day, you got something for me? And he goes, yep, and congratulations. I don't know what he was congratulating me for. But anyways, he hands me this big box, and it says DW Drums. And I'm like, ooh, I didn't order anything from DW, but I'll gladly take it. And the model number I looked up that was on the box was a higher end drum. It was like $500, well, higher end for me, of course it would be, $500 snare drum. And I'm like, that's not what I ordered, but I'll take it. But anyways, I got it upstairs and greeted by my other box from Sweetwater. And this box that came off the UPS truck was from Guitar Center. And I had ordered another used snare drum. And I believe this one came out of Middleton, Wisconsin. But when I bought my Premier XPK drum set, it didn't come with the snare drum. This happens a lot when Guitar Center sells used drum sets. When they get them, they seem to separate the snares from the drum set and sell the snares separately, which kind of pisses me off a little bit because then I don't get a complete set. And the XPK did not come as a complete set. And so I was lacking the actual XPK snare. They didn't have any used ones to buy at the time, so I not settled. Well, I still got another Premier to go with it, which is my Premier Olympic 1006, which is a wonderful snare drum. I love that snare drum. But they finally came in and they had a used Premier XPK snare drum, chrome over steel, and they only wanted $99 for it. And there she is. You're welcome. Big P badge, low mass lugs, and I believe those are the art. I'm not sure. I think those might be the Art Deco ones. I'm not sure. It's hard to find information on the XPKs. For some reason, it's hard to get a lot of information on Premier drums. There's our websites that you can go on to, Drum Forum. These guys, some of these guys and their technical expertise on there, it makes you wonder what they do for a living. I mean, they just know it. They could tell, oh, that came from an 1878 parade drum, blah, 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 blah. I mean, it's just amazing what these guys can do. And I should probably get on that page and start nosing around and start asking questions and showing pictures. Maybe I get a little bit more information from it. But from what I know, it's a XPK Premier 14 by 5.5. My Olympic is a 14 by 5. I mean, this one's a little bit bigger, which is kind of cool. Low mass lugs. The original Premier throw off on it, which is kind of nice. And I didn't find any numbers on it, serial numbers or a model number. So, and when I took this apart last night, I couldn't find anything either. But when I bought this, the pictures, when I blew up the picture, it was horribly filthy. I mean, it was nasty. Everybody in the state of Wisconsin probably had their hand on it at one time and may have done some very wrong things to it, because it It was weird what it was covered in. I don't know what exactly it was covered in, but in the pictures it showed it was completely filthy. So Guitar Center need to up your game. But when I took the snare out of the package from Guitar Center, one thing they've always been super good with is, even though it's used, it's inexpensive. It was wrapped up like it was $1 million snare. The thick bubble wrap all the way around it, the top and bottom. It was bedded in that box, so snug and secure, you could have ran it over with a truck and it probably wouldn't have hurt it. I mean, so Guitar Center, when you do order something from them, they do take care of your product and they make sure it gets to you in perfect shape. But when I got it, when I pulled it out, it was dull. There was no shine to it, no nothing. And I don't know what they had done to it. Or not them, but the previous owner. It was almost like it was covered in cooking grease, like it had been sitting in a kitchen for 5 or 10 years. It was absolutely filthy. This is probably a circa 1990s snare drum. That's about the only information I could dig out. I found a similar snare to it that was dated from like 1995. So anyways, so I'm sitting there by myself, got nothing better to do, go downstairs, down here, get all my tools, go back upstairs on the kitchen table, and I proceed to take this thing completely apart. Except I did leave the lugs on though, just because that's a lot of work, a lot of extra work. But I got my citrus cleaner out after I got it stripped down, cleaned off the grease and whatever, the fingerprints and all that kind of stuff. And then I went down from there, I went down to a clean t-shirt with just damp soapy water, cleaned it again, and then from there I went down to just a clean dry t-shirt and then cleaned it all up. And handling it today, I'm getting more prints on it, but it's still pretty clean. But once I got it clean upstairs, the shine coming off the chrome on this snare was just, I mean, it was blinding. It was just beautiful. Premier's chrome is just fantastic. And I was told at one time that the same people who did the chrome for Rolls-Royce automobiles did the chrome for Premier. I heard that in several different places. How long they did it, for how long, I don't know. But all I know is Premier has always been known for the good chrome. And my Premier Olympic snare is 1970s vintage, so it's almost actually 50 years old, and it's still beautiful. And this one is stunning, absolutely stunning. It came with the original snare side head, the resonant head, Premier on there, and on the batter side, it came with this. And this is a Premier SD heavy duty batter, or special duty batter. I assume special duty heavy batter. It's a very thick head. It's a 2-ply with a sound dot in the center, so it's actually a 3 probably. When you look at it, it's not caved in. It's not worn, and I do not see any stick marks on it. And I don't know if the snare drum was used very much at all, but the batter head does not seem to be played at all. It's just horribly filthy, and there's specks of paint or stain or whatever it is. And so I tried cleaning that last night. I'll probably get out a magic eraser today and see if I can clean this up, which is kind of nice because now I got another head that I could use as a spare or a backup, and came with it, so bonus. But like I said, my wife, when she was leaving, FedEx had dropped off a box on the front porch, and in that box from Sweetwater, yay, was the new head that I had already ordered in advance for this. Now, in a previous video, I had mentioned I was going to get Aquarium Studio X's for the snare drum. I made a mistake. It wasn't Studio X's. I do plan on getting those for my next set of drums that I get once I sell the Sound Percussion Lab kit, and I want to try those heads out. I do love Evans heads, and I mean, I've got 3 different types of Evans heads, 3 different types of snare heads for them. I love the brand. I do like Remo Ambassadors on the resonant side though. But I wanted to try something different. Aquarian. I do have Aquarian heads on my 2 of my 3 bass drums, and which are a wonderful head. And so I wanted to try this one. This is the Aquarian High Energy batter head. It's designed specifically for steel drums. Now, any of you who have steel snare drums know that, boy, they ring. They ring. And it sounds like you're beating on a hollow steel tube. I mean, well, essentially we are, but there's a lot of excessive tone and noise inherent with steel drums. And this head is designed to combat that. We'll see, because I haven't really tested it out yet. But this is kind of a strange head. When I took it out of its box, it was just complete. It was different from the Evan heads and the Remo heads that I've bought in the past. It's supposedly only a single ply head, but I really don't think that's true. It's multi-part head. You can see around the hoop, it's clear. Then there's this thick black ring that feels almost like a rubbery plastic. And then there's about 1/8 of an inch space that doesn't have the black on it. It's just part of the drum head. Then there's this thick pad around it, which is, it appears to be nylon. Kind of like, not unlike actually my electronic drum pads. And then there's the center ring. Although I think they said it was a single ply, it can't be. It's too many plies on it. But this is the durability of this head. I'd say it's damn near like Kevlar. I don't think it's going to show any damage for years. I mean, this is something else. But I did leave the original Premier on the bottom. And of course, you see the bottom. My custom painter's tape, because again, I don't have any gaff tape. And they're also the original Premier snare wires, which was kind of odd. You can tell they're much, much older. I'm assuming that they're the original, because everything else on the drum was original. I did a preemptive strike on this, and I had strips of weather stripping for doorways. It's a thin foam ring, or thin foam with self-adhesive on the back. And I knew through experience with my Olympic 1006 of the ring. And so I thought, well, this stuff's kind of easily removed. It's you know, it wouldn't be a problem to remove it. So let me try and do a ring around the inside of the circumference of the snare to kind of help with the tones and all that, because I'm doing a preemptive strike trying to attack the sound. Also, you can't see it because it's laying on the shell now, but I also put a cymbal felt in there that when it's sitting on the stand will sit on the reso head and hopefully help tone it down a bit. You can hear it in there now. But I really haven't messed with this too much, so I'm gonna give it a rundown now. I know I did a basic tuning on it. The reso head, the snare side head, is cranked up quite high. The batter head is at a low to medium tuning, or where a low to medium tuning should be. And so I guarantee it's not where it's supposed to be. But after I'm done with this video, I'll go back in and I'll start with the resonant head and work on that a little bit, tighten it up, work on the snare, tighten it up, and it's just trial and error, you know, just tap, 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 do a change, tap, 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 tap. And then once I get those things to the point where I think they're good, and then I'll try to rework the batter head and tap, 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 change, 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 tap, 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 change, tap, you know how it is. So you're kind of getting the first sounding of this snare drum. Now again, this is a Premier, a 1990s era Premier XPK 14x5.5, chrome over steel with low mass lugs, sporting an Aquarian high energy batter head. which again it looks cool for one thing. It looks like a target. So, but it's made for steel drums, and I'll tell you, just by hitting this thing now, since I've tuned it, compared to the UV1, there's gonna be a big difference. I can tell already, just for the thickness of this head. So, let's do a quick tippity tappities on there and see what I got to work with. The three types of heads in the one head, it's kind of weird. So, I'm gonna go for the center dot, of course, where you're gonna get your primary sound, and that center dot's kind of nice because it works on your aim. You're going to get the best sound in the center, so it'll help you with your aim and all that kind of stuff. So, but I'm going to work on the outside, work towards the outside, and see, because the head changes. Let's see what it sounds like. So, surprising, the ring really isn't that bad. Starting from the center and moving my way out. Ooh. Towards that black ring, well, generally that's not where you want to hit the snare anyways, but the ring was really pronounced. But in the center, it's not too bad, and that's just going to take some tinkering with the tension rods. But I really like that head. That is kind of cool, and it is very different looking. But you know, I can't sit there and pass judgment on other head brands when you know you don't use them or have any experience with them. And I've got a lot with the Evans and a lot with Remo, and so it was time to give Aquarian their fair shake. But from what I see already, I think I'm really going to enjoy using this batter head. But I'm glad now that my XPK kit is complete, although the lugs on this, and I believe these are the Lomas lugs, I think they're the Art Deco. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure. I have to do a little bit more research. It doesn't really exactly match it because the Premier XPK, mine has the long lugs, which were last used by Premier, I believe, in 1997 on their XPKs. And so that puts that drum set in the 80s and early 90s range. And the Premier Olympic with the speedboat lugs match it better. Not perfectly. This really doesn't match it because of the lugs, but it is an XPK snare. So I do have a complete XPK kit now. And I don't know what it is. I tell you, I want to start a snare collection, and I want to fill it with as many XP or Premier snares as I can. I really appreciate them. I mean, they're just beautiful, well built, well put together. And this one, the hoops do show a little strange scratching in areas. I really don't know what happened to the snare from its previous owner. We didn't use it much. I don't know why. It's absolutely beautiful. But I wanted to knock out this little video just to show you another acquisition I made. You don't have to spend a lot of money to get something of good quality, and you don't have to buy brand new. Guitar Center has over a thousand used snare drums for sale. I guess Guitar Center is really not doing too well now. I'm not exactly sure. I've heard, you know, conflicting stories, but they have over 1,000 used drums used snare drums and 1,000 different used drum sets. Don't buy brand new when you could get the snare drum you want for hundreds of dollars less, and you don't have to worry about them shipping it. To ship a snare drum through the Midwest, I mean, it only cost me like $10 or $11 for shipping for it. If you buy a brand new one, of course, that's free shipping usually, but it's usually only 10 or 11 bucks. And I spent $100 on this snare drum, 99, and brand new, it was probably going to be $300 or $400. I'm assuming. So I saved a lot of money. And there's a couple of little scratches on it, and I had to buy a brand new head, but who cares? You know, you're saving money. And you'd be surprised. There are a lot of crazy snare drums in there I've never seen or heard of, and there's some beautiful ones. So I urge you guys to buy used. I mean, well, you want to spend $800 on this beautiful D drum snare or a drum workshop snare, Why? For 800 bucks, you could buy a whole fleet of snare drums of all different makes and models. And that's what I want to do, but of course, all Premier. And there's a few other brands that I toy with just because, mainly the aesthetics, how they look pretty cool. And I do want to have my little collection up there. And I'll stick with 3 drum sets. And I told my wife I wouldn't go more than 3. That's why I got to get rid of one to get another one. But she didn't say nothing about snare drums, so I'll just keep going with snares. But real quick before I sign off here, I'll show you what else came in that box. Oh, well, another thing that's on the snare. Again, everything on the snare was original bolt heads and all that kind of stuff. And the snare straps were the original clear plastic Mylar ones. I absolutely can't stand those. So I did order from Gibraltar through Sweetwater, Gibraltar ribbon straps. Those are like $3 for a 2 pair. So I can outfit a couple of snares with it. And I decided to put them on this one, of course. And another thing I got, and this doesn't have to do with the snare, it has to do with my toms, on this specific kit. Now this is my drum zone, and my Premier XPK is my favorite set of drums. My drum zone kit here, the Poplar kit, is my favorite sounding. I just always enjoy having this kit up because it's just fun to play on with the red edge ribbons, hydraulics, and all that. And I just seem to have it up more than any other set. But I wanted to try an experiment. I didn't want to spend a lot of money doing it, but I just want to try an experiment. Now, the toms on this drum zone kit, the mounts are screwed directly into the shell. When you put it on the tom arms, which is the 7/8 inch tubular tom arms, go into the shell also, which I don't like because it affects the tone of your drums. Like I mentioned in another video, I did pull the drum off the tom arm, so looking down through it, I can see it, the tom arm sticking in there just a little tiny bit, and just enough so that the mount can hold it on securely, but it won't affect the sound. And that tube is also stuffed with a swim noodle foam that I'd cut up and put in there. But I wanted to try something a little different. And so through Sweetwater from Gibraltar, I ordered the ISS mount, which I guess used to be called the rims mount because I believe Gibraltar did buy that company. You can't see it. Matter of fact, I'll open the box right now. But what this does, what you do is you take the tom off, of course, and you unbolt the tom mount from the drum itself, and you instead attach that tom mount to this. Now this is the back plate to it, tom suspension system from Gibraltar, and that mounts to this. You can see there's a hell of a lot of holes in that where the different mounts can fit. The way it's designed, looks like just about anything could fit on it. But what this does, your tom mount bolts directly onto this, and then as you can see in the box, that little round rail that goes along the edge, and there's those 2 rubber little brackets. And what you will do is you will loosen the tension rods on 2 of these and put your mount up to it, and the tension rods will go through the mount and then back in to the lugs. And what you are doing is relieving it of the tom arm going through it, and so the drum is just going to suspend naturally, just as the drum. You're just holding it from the outside. There's nothing piercing the inside of the shell. And then when I do take it off, I'll put some pieces of black tape covering the hole, and so it allows your toms to resonate freely. Did I think it'd be necessary to do that? No, I don't, because I like the way these things sound. But I'm just curious to what they can sound like with something like this on there. And these are only, I think they were $28 a piece for 2. And these are adjustable. They'll fit anywhere from an 8-inch to a 14-inch tom. And so this will be the subject of another video I will probably do later on tonight. And another thing, now this is just kind of stupid, it's just me though. It'll change the aesthetics of the drum. It'll make it look a little more expensive. Does that really mean anything? No, it doesn't. It's just kind of being stupid, the way I look at it. But mainly I'm looking at just to see if it changes the sound for the better. I'm sure it will, because the drum will be free floating, kind of like a rifle barrel, a floating barrel on a rifle. Which helps the rifle fire better. So I'm hoping that this will improve the sound of it. But again, that'll be for another video I'll probably do today once I get all this hooked up. But anyways, let me get on out of here. And that was my Premier XPK, 1990s-ish, probably 80s-ish snare drum, 14 by 5.5, $99 through Guitar Center. And they still have a lot of these, or a lot of similar ones. Well, they got 1,000 used snare drums that are looking for a good home. They're just wandering around as orphans. And I adopted this one. I love it. I'm going to keep it, and I'll call it Fluffy. But anyways, I'm Todd, the Cheap Drums Guy. Y'all have a good day. And I'll be calling you sooner or later to come out and shovel when the snow starts coming.